That's the most important person.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Irvine International Academy Board meeting. Today is August 20th, 2024, 6 p.m. Regular board meeting location, Irvine International Academy, 4782 Karen Ann Lane, Irvine, California, 92604. Thank you all for being here, and a special welcome to Miller, who could join us today in person.
Yes.
So we don't have that live teleconference?
Is a will person.
I'd like to start with roll call. Molly,
Present.
Felipe, Brett, present, Doug, absent, David,
Present.
and Miller.
Present.
Okay, great. Thank you for joining. Next item, approval of the agenda for the regular meeting of the Irvine International Academy Board of Directors on August 20th, 2024. It's recommended that the Board of Directors approve the agenda for the regular meeting dated as of today. Is there a motion?
Okay, motion to.
Thank you, David. Thank you, Miller, who seconds it. Since we don't have anyone teleconferencing, I'm just going to ask all in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say nay.
Okay.
Hearing none, it passes. Okay, next item, community input on closed session agenda items. Do we have any
We do not.
public comments? Okay. Next item is closed session, where we will discuss the public employee performance evaluation of our executive director. Estimate 20 to 30 minutes, hopefully quicker, but we'll be back after that.
Oh, that's grand. So weird. Okay.
So we're going
We're gonna go.
We're gonna go into grant.
Grant's office. Okay.
to your office. Okay.
Yeah, we take over. Then he has to just sit out here.
Okay, thank you all for rejoining us. The time is 6:25. Just met out of closed session where we discussed the public employee performance evaluation, basically the evaluation rubric for our executive director. There was a motion, first motion by David, second motion by Miller, and it passed unanimously. So that will be put into motion moving forward. Okay, next is the flag salute, very important. Do we have any volunteers? Otherwise, I'm happy.
I volunteer.
All right, thank you.
Where's, yeah,
The
I'll
flag
go there.
behind us to the back left.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yes. Thank you very much. We will note that Mr. Delgado has joined the meeting here and will be part of future voting. Any other participants by chance has Doug joined?
No.
Okay. All right, moving on, a community input on agendized items. The public may comment on any items listed on the agenda, including the consent calendar, presentation, discussion, committee, and action items. Do we have any public comments?
We do not.
Okay, moving on to the next item, items for consent. Item A, approve minutes from the regular meetings of the IIA Board of Directors on August 6, 2024, and approve the personnel report. Any comments on this before we do this?
I think it's pretty standard. We have the minutes and then we have a few personnel changes
Yep.
that are listed, but not many on this one because most of them were over the summer.
Okay. All right, is there a motion? All right, thank you, Molly.
Second.
Thank you, David. David seconds. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, motion passes. Okay, next item, items for presentation. School update, Mr. Schmitter, you have the floor.
All right. Now,
All right, well, we finished our 4th day of school.
Yay.
Uh,
176 more to go.
Almost there.
So obviously, I know last time we updated that, we talked about plans. There's always going to be flexibility in those plans. You play everything out. Sometimes things work, sometimes things don't. So that's the kind of phase that we're in right now, is we had our initial plan and now we're working on a constant improvement, getting feedback from parents, and we'll be working with them. So overall, right now, our current enrollment is about 530. It fluctuates up and down a couple every day, but we have a lot of new families coming in. So you should be seeing that go up consistently at this point. I think today alone, we had 3 or 4 tours come through, so there's a lot of interest coming in. Overall, the first few days of school were a success. With the amount of growth, you see the number of students. I mean, basically the school doubled in size year over year. So there's always going to be kind of those unknown questions, what's going to happen? So we've had some success there. I know we kind of talked about staffing. We have a music teacher right now that we're currently onboarding. I know that's one big priority for parents and families. So we extended an offer, they've accepted. Credentialing wise, it's going to take a few weeks to get them on board. But I'm going to be communicating that with families Thursday at coffee with the principal. So that's where we're at with the music teacher. The only position that we're looking for a full-time position still for kindergarten Mandarin, because we did have a teacher unexpectedly leave just before the school year started. So that's a vacancy that opened up last minute. We do have a short-term substitute teacher in there. They do speak some Mandarin, and then our AP is supporting that teacher. So they are certificated, they are allowed to be there, but that's the situation with that one class. Thursday, we have the coffee with the principal. I know it's a big event for a lot of our community. So if we go to the next page, I'm going to kind of talk about system feedback from parents. These are kind of the two. If you take all of the concerns and you kind of put them in categories, the first one is just policies. Right now, with the ongoing changes, they see a lot of new policies that are coming up. Ultimately, we know that doesn't mean that there's going to be a lot of change at the school. So it's just about communicating that to the families, because I think right now there's this kind of unknown. So we're going to be communicating with them to kind of make it clear to the families that these policies have actually a lot of it, or it's already been in place. We're actually just clarifying it and making it more transparent for everybody. And then the second feedback, there's just a fear that the school climate is going to change. So anytime you have a leadership change, there's always going to be who's coming in, what are they going to do? The second something is done a little bit different, it's kind of like, okay, the school climate has changed. Well, we're going to be, with the coffee with the principal on Thursday, just being visible with families and being present, just to consistently give that message to the families that we are prioritizing community. We want our school culture to thrive. We're not changing everything like the fears. We're going to be engaging parents in this process. So that's kind of one of the biggest concerns that we get from families right now. And then at the end, just kind of a list of upcoming events. So tomorrow is our back to school night. We have it all planned and ready to go. Our different sessions by our teachers. We have our staff ready. Then on Thursday is our coffee with the principal. Next Thursday, what's that?
One time,
Which one?
coffee.
8:30 a.m.
Okay.
Bright and early.
Yes.
That's early, yeah.
It is early. That's why it's coffee. So it's pretty much right after drop off is done and the kids are in the classroom. And then next week we have our first parent workshop, our ELAC meeting, and then we've working with PTO right now. We've calendared our Mid-Autumn Festival celebration for September 13th, that Friday. So that update is going to be shared again with families on Thursday, as well as the weekly updates that go out on Monday. So that's kind of where the school is at right now.
Okay.
Yes,
Question.
Yep.
Yeah, I noticed, third grade, you have 3 classes, right?
2 classes for 3rd grade.
Yeah, 3A, 3B, there's a 3C.
Third grade is 3A, 3B.
Okay,
You're talking about 2nd grade?
no, third grade. Yeah, so I noticed on the board that you have like 33, 32, 32, and 8.
Okay, so that board isn't up to date. That's old and that was 2nd grade. So the classrooms are balanced.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah,
It was just for us to kind of tally up students as they
Yeah.
came
Okay.
in, so.
Yeah, so it was
to make
kinda
sure that
like-
We didn't go over the total
Right.
it
amount
was like
that we.
one
needed to
class
have
is
to
full,
keep the
another class is full. It was not about placement. It was just the number of students.
okay,
So now, just so you know, that those 3 classes are about 27, 27, and then 20.
Okay.
And the reason why that 3rd one is at 20 is because that's a smaller classroom. And so you don't want to fit
The room.
that many kids in a smaller room.
Yeah.
gotcha.
So we want to make sure that it's the right size.
They already.
Makes sense, yeah. Right,
Great question.
Yep.
You mentioned the growth.
Yes.
And it's, it's wonderful to see,
Yeah.
right? But, with so much change, you can feel a difference too. It becomes more systemic, the system, and it takes over. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm wondering how, if we thought about ways to promote more of the community feel, similar to what we had in prior year,
Yeah.
let's say. So even though you have the size, but we're still working on the communication, and
Mhm.
people feel like, you can knock on the door and how we keep that feeling.
Yeah, well, that's always going to be a work in progress, no matter what size you're at. I have an open door policy. I mean, in fact, I've met with probably 3 different, well, there's a group of parents and 2 other parents today, and 2 of those were scheduled today. So I do have an open door policy. I'm really ready to meet with any parent for whatever reason. They can come up to me and ask questions. And so to answer your question about community, it's going to be times like coffee with the principal.
Yeah.
It's going to be times like the Mid-Autumn Festival, where you really have those community times to work together. Because when you're dealing at like orientation, when you have hundreds of families and you have to give a presentation, there's not a lot of personal feel
Yeah.
to that, because you have to
Yeah.
have to communicate what you need to move out. But with like coffee with the principal and these types of events, you can engage parents more individually and one-on-one or as a smaller group. And that's just going to have to be, that's something that happens over time.
The coffee with the principals once a month though, right?
Yes.
So if this Thursday, you get a lot of parents, and I don't know.
Yeah.
It's the first one of the year,
Yeah.
so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But if you get a lot of interest, I'm wondering if there is a way to have a follow-up or another session in a couple weeks. I don't know, Dr. Hernan, if you're planning to do something with the parents.
Yeah, I mean,
like-
we were planning on sort of tag teaming the
Yeah.
coffee with the principal, especially this time,
Yeah.
since it's the first one.
Yeah.
And, being able to both kind of answer questions and then letting parents know that, both Grant and I
Yeah.
are available, to meet, like Principal Schmitter said, he's been meeting with parents, I've been meeting with parents.
Yeah.
Sometimes because I'm sitting in the back of his office,
Yes.
it's an automatic that we
Yeah.
both,
Yeah.
meet with whoever's coming in and just really encourage parents to come in and chat if they have ideas or feedback or
Okay.
concerns. We really want to have that be an open door policy for both of us. I know sometimes things come up and you don't want to wait for
Yeah.
the next, even 2 weeks
Yeah.
for the next coffee with the principal. And we don't want people to wait if they have concerns. We'd rather have them bring them to our attention so we can take care of it
Yeah.
right away and address anything right away. I've met with lots of different lots of different people, and I think it's helpful if we can, you know, kind of have that open dialogue and, you know, stop either one of us out in front of the school or come in or send an email, we can set up an appointment. But we can kind of gauge it
Yeah.
as far as, kind of moving forward, how frequently. Or if we want to do sometimes coffee with the principal in the morning, and then sometimes things like the parent workshops and ELAC meetings and things
Yeah.
like that in the afternoon, so we can kind of hit parents. Because some parents won't be able to make it in the morning, some parents will be able to make it in the afternoon, and then we can have those opportunities for parents at different times.
And to answer your question, I'm always open to adding more things if we need it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, that's it. That's probably not the case.
Yeah, so the coffee with the principal, you know, so how to sign up? So the buyer.
You just have to show up.
You just have to
You show up. And so,
Show up.
Yep.
It's not one-on-one, you know, for example, I can just pop in 8:30.
well, if you want to come, if you want to just come and talk to me, if I'm available, I would meet with you right then and there. If not, our office staff can schedule a time.
You have chairs set up here, basically.
But for coffee with
Yeah,
the principal,
yeah.
it's just like an open,
Yeah, there's open seating.
Yeah.
And so I want to be
Yeah.
presenting some information and there's times for questions. And then if parents have, you know, either a lot of questions or just have more private concerns, I will follow up with them and set individual meetings with them.
I'll sign up.
Yeah.
you don't have to sign up.
So it's open to anyone, yeah.
And I was thinking about, you know, I like the door policy. I think, I'm thinking about some of the parents that they don't feel too comfortable using English. So
Yeah.
maybe somehow you can let them know, we will have people, you know, to translate, or they can bring someone. Just
Yeah.
let them know that that's
Yeah.
not a problem. Because I know for some culture, that's, you know, yes.
No, I can definitely address that.
Mhm.
And we have different people on staff that
Right.
can,
Yeah.
that can translate, and we have our great PTO that actually has different people that can
Yes.
translate different languages, if the parents feel comfortable having someone translate for them.
So I think just kind of let them know, you know, don't worry about the
Yes.
language. You have a question, you can use your own language, you can. ask the
Yes.
question.
Absolutely.
I would suggest you get a good night's sleep. This might
But
be-
that's not until Thursday, it's tomorrow.
Oh, it's Thursday. Well, it's still a good idea to get it. So Wednesday night for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of coffee. What do you want?
And the back
What?
night has 2 sessions, right?
So each grade level has 2
So it
sessions.
starts from,
So the TK and K starts at 4 PM. So the session's at 4 and 4:30. The first through third is at 5 and 5:30. The 5th through 8th is at 6 o'clock.
And the 2 sessions for each group are just a repeat, just in case parents have multiple students, so they can go to both classes. So you don't need to go to both sessions, because you're just gonna hear the same thing. Unless you have siblings that provides the opportunity to go both.
Any sense for the percentage of returning parents, families from last year to this year?
On the numbers,
Yeah.
I don't have that just yet, but if you want, I can.
I'm just curious.
I heard, somebody told me, you know, fourth graders, some parents just, you know, withdrew their kids.
Mhm.
Is that the true one?
The 4th graders are through.
I don't know yet.
I mean,
Like-
we've had a few withdrawals, but,
Yeah.
but for the most part, that's how we hit our number is, for the most part, most families seem to have, been coming back. I don't know the exact percentage for each grade level,
And-
but we can get that for
And
you.
s-
We're-
And it's fairly normal to have a lot of enrolled and registered, but you really don't know until the first day. And so it's not unexpected to see some, even though they are enrolled and registered, they don't show up. But they may have gone to another school. But yeah,
But our budget right now is based on 5-10.
Yes.
yes.
Yes, so we are definitely projecting to be above our projections and above our budgeted amount.
So it was just 2 days I'm sitting in the front desk.
Mhm.
Okay. And then I just see a lot of traffic comes
Mm-hmm.
in and then all related to after school.
Mhm.
So it looks like we have another office. And then I just wonder that should they, I mean, it just kind of becomes a part of the school, but they are
Yes.
not part of the school,
Correct.
so, any solutions?
We actually, I had a meeting with Strategic Kids this afternoon.
Good, okay.
And for about an hour, we discussed that exact thing. And one thing that we had been talking about that I proposed to them, and they think it's a good idea as well, is we're going to actually move the sign in and sign out for the after-school program into probably the TK classroom where they are in the afternoons.
Yeah,
And that way it will separate them from the office because it is very hectic in the office
Yes,
with
yes.
both. And a lot of times then parents who have school questions can't get through because
Yes.
there's, a lot of people in there signing in and out for the after school program. So I think that'll definitely alleviate that
yes,
issue.
yes,
And also just keep it separate so that, if parents have questions about the school, they come into the office. If they have a question about the after school
Yes.
program, then they know where to go to take care of that. And then it'll also be less of a distance when we're calling TK and kinder students to
Yeah.
leave. They'll be right there
Yeah.
instead of having to have somebody walk them back and forth,
Yes.
back and forth to the office. So I think that'll alleviate a lot of those issues.
Your other question regarding the after school program, several times I was running just a little bit late.
Mhm.
So will the kids be automatically transferred to after school program?
After a certain,
Sometimes, just a little bit late, parents.
after a certain time, yes, they will. I don't believe there's anyone that has had that happen yet.
Usually we would
Yeah.
we usually keep the kids out in front of the school for, 10, 15 minutes. Well, if they're the younger grade levels, they stay out there with us until about 3:25, 3:30. So they're out there for quite a while because we have the older kids that get released at 3:15. And then at a certain time, once it seems like the line of cars has stopped, and we don't have any more people coming in, then we bring them into the main office. And they'll pretty much hang out there.
Yeah.
And we'll try to call home, try to make sure that, parents realize that it's 3:30. Set an alarm,
So,
and then kind of go from there. We haven't had any that we've actually put in the after-school program. Everybody was either supposed to go to the after-school program anyway, and just their parents didn't tell them that's where they were going that day. Or we've been able to get a hold of parents and have parents come and pick them up.
Because I had the experience like 4 times. Not this.
Yeah.
We're gonna need to work on your punctuality.
yes. No, I mean, you have to be pretty late,
Yeah.
Yeah.
at that point, because, around 3:30 is when they start making those calls.
Right.
Yes, I mean, you'd have
yeah.
to be about a half an hour late from the latest pickup time in order for
so that's.
that- that
Yeah.
kid to wind up going to the after-school program, because then we just don't have any office staff there to supervise them.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I got one more.
Okay.
I know you want to leave.
Yeah. That's fine.
No way. So I'm looking at this policies and fear of school climate change. I do have a fear.
Mhm.
And so I wanted to ask you about it. Last year, every day, a child, one of the students would come up to the front office and say the Pledge of Allegiance for the whole school. Are we
Yeah.
still doing that?
We're going to be,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
So it's not been forgotten?
It has, no, it's in process right now, yeah,
Okay, so I expect to see that.
yes.
And just so you know, every once in a while, when I drop off the kids, they let me do the Pledge. of Allegiance.
Wow.
Just so you know, it's just a little trick. 'Cause the kids have some kind of game where they try to guess who's doing it.
Yeah.
Right? And I always throws them a curveball when I
Yeah.
do it, because they can't figure out who it is. So just, I'd like to see that, because it is one of the things that I use to promote the school, is that we do say the Pledge of Allegiance here
Yeah.
every day.
And we should be saying it every
Every
day.
day. And I believe also there should be a flag in every.
Yeah, and that's what I was wondering where a lot of those flags went, so
Yeah.
we're working
We're
on,
working on getting those replaced.
yeah.
I'd be more than happy to donate a flag to me.
But we're taking inventory right now, but
Let me
tomorrow
know.
I can
And
let
if
you know.
need a parent donation, let me
Okay.
know. I'd be more than happy to, because it's just like the little.
It's just
Yeah,
the
it's
little
one on the
ones on the,
stick, yeah.
little
They
wood
stick on
stick.
the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have some missing.
Yeah, we did have quite a few that we noticed
I'll be more than happy.
through
to
the
go.
first day of school and kind of catching up on everything, making. sure
Yeah,
we had
absolutely,
everything.
but I want to make sure that doesn't get lost in the culture there.
No, it's been discussed.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I appreciate it. I'll be looking for it.
Okay,
One more comment.
All right.
Or question. Also, so the fear of the school climate change, is that, you know, did you hear some comments from the parents or from the staff?
there's been chatter among parents. I mean, I think a lot of it too. There's not a clear understanding of both myself and Dr. Canandro, just what the difference is. So there's a lot of misunderstanding about that. Two, I think when they see an annual notice and they see it's different this year compared to last year, a lot of questions come up, and a lot of it is the school's changing, what's going on. When the reality is really nothing that's been happening in the school is changing. But again, it's a lot of just unknown. And so now it's time, okay, let's have those discussions, let's have that dialogue. So just to make it clear to families that things aren't changing, the climate isn't changing. They're still going to be engaged, they're still going to be a part of the process. So it's just, anytime there's change, there's uncertainty. And so it's just about constant communication. And the first few days, I mean, it's hard because the first few days, a lot of the focus is safety. So making sure we have our systems in place. There's kids are where they need to be, the supervision's where they need to be. And so now it's shifting to, let's engage the community, get feedback, let's work together.
I think that autumn festival, it's a good opportunity to, bring the families together.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Especially with, we have so many new families, so it'll be a really good opportunity for everybody to get to know each other.
The cotton candy business big.
All right.
I heard you were running it.
Are you running that?
From the experience.
It's a big hit.
Yeah.
Just say.
I have one suggestion, just we're talking about the policy. So I was here that first day and I tried to answer some questions. And I just happened, I talked to two parents that they have kids that need special help.
Mhm.
So I feel like they said they waited for a whole year to qualify. And then she said that she hasn't heard anything about it. So I just feel like some of the parents, maybe especially with them, so I did share with her, I said, I was a teacher before. Yes, it takes a long time. There's a lot of tests we have to go through. And then so she was asking questions. So a whole year, we need a whole year. I said, well, different places, but it takes a long time.
Yeah.
So just little things like that, I think, because from her, she was trying to say, I can tell she was frustrated.
Yeah.
So then we found out her son's name is qualified.
Okay.
So she said, oh, I didn't know about it.
So we need to make sure that
So
that
just make sure,
communication is
and
happening.
then also if they're, just let them know, it's not, you'll find out tomorrow.
Mhm.
It's gonna take a couple months.
No, it is a couple months process to do that, but there's usually IEPs, there's meetings that will communicate all that. And so
Right.
I can't speak into what happened before, but moving forward, there's going to be clear
Yeah.
processes involved that way. Parents are fully aware of what's going on.
Mhm.
And Mr. Fernandez, I know was wearing a lot of hats last year, and so we really kind of shifted his focus back to our special education students, and then, he's overseeing just a few areas, independent study, attendance,
Mhm.
so that we can really make sure that we're not letting any of those things fall through the cracks.
Mhm.
And I know he's been really keeping on top of the special education program, making sure he's going through all the systems to make sure that we're catching all of our students who have IEPs, especially with our new students, because sometimes parents don't check the box in enrollment that says that their student is coming with an IEP. And so it takes a little research and digging around, but he's actually gone through and found a couple of students that box didn't get checked. So we're making sure that we're catching all of those students now. And I think it'll be a little bit easier with him having some more time on his, some more time to be able to focus on that area. Because I think that's where his passions lie, so.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, next item, B, financial update. Mr. Jones, hope you're feeling better.
Yes, I am. Thank you, and good evening, everyone. That was not last week, was it?
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
ago.
6.
Time flies.
Feels like a month ago.
Yeah.
Ladies, I don't want to leave you guys out,
Okay.
so I'm going to,
No,
I think the board has.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do,
Okay,
yeah.
So I'll sort of,
You just.
I like to be as accommodating as possible.
That's right, yeah.
It's important for our dear friends here to get a little, Grant, next time we'll pregame this and then we'll have a nice little setup for ourselves, right? All right. So my good folks, another year has come and gone, right?
Yeah.
And welcome back to everyone. It's good to, you know, and I say sort of put last year behind us, but not in a negative way, but it implies that we're making progress because we have another year under our belt in terms of experience and things like that. As you guys know, this has been and let me know if you guys are having trouble finding the document. I think you guys are good. We're all on the same page there, yeah? Last year was a year that was, and I think you guys we all experienced this together because we were all traveling on the same path with this. Lots of ups and downs, right? But we managed to come out at the other end of this. And it wasn't as bad. It could have been better, right? To a large degree, so many ways, shapes, or form. But I think what I will present today summarizes the year in a nutshell, from a fiscal perspective. And this is, now we've turned the corner, we've turned the page, we have a new director, a new admin team. We feel more refreshed, we feel renewed. We have that sense of hope that yes, we're going forward in the right direction. Higher enrollment, things like that. So, June financials, and I don't want to turn my back to you, so I'll go
And
this
the
way.
presentation is in the board folder if you wanted to pull it.
So that.
Okay, perfect. And if you guys have it, or if you want to come down here, I don't want to break decorum here. But if you guys want to come see it this way. So revenues in June, and I'll start there, 1.1 million, is what we, received and accrued, as of 6/30. About 847,000 in, I'll slow down and wait for you guys to catch up there. Yeah.
We'll share.
Okay, guys, if you wanna just swing around, we can do it quickly there. It's up to you guys. Okay.
Can share.
No need for the little chair, sir?
Oh, it's okay.
Major friend over there. Thank you.
We need to figure out a way to be able to project that way and project this way. at the same time.
Yeah. Next time we'll make sure we have a little bit of different stuff. Federal revenues, 41,000. State revenues, 134,227, and then the local amount of 110, so 1.1 million all in the month of June. On the expense side, this is about par for the course here. Help me here, was it 1 year last year? How many weeks were school actually? About 2.5 weeks in June, give or take, I think, something like that. Salaries and benefits, 250,000. Small amount of books and supplies, and again, I'll call that, if you will, some classrooms, some office material supplies, things like that. Operational cost, 179,000. And then our other that's the remainder of our borrowing there of 27,000. Let's take a look at some year to date here. This is where the rubber meets the road really nicely. 5.7 million in total revenues. Our budget calls for, at that point in time, 5.694 million. So we exceeded that by about 76,000, which is great. You can see here again, as always, your LCFF revenues always takes up that bigger chunk of this pie here in terms of, to the tune of 73%. David, if you're having trouble seeing that, you can come down here too. You don't want to hurt your eyes there, buddy.
Right here.
They have colors.
Yeah.
It's a pretty graph. Or you could come join Molly.
We'll make sure. we work out
Over there,
of,
over there.
Yeah, I hate for you guys to strain your eyes to see, this.
Oh, just a second, right here. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, there you go. Don't be shy, the other.
Older eyes. Must be something wrong with that laptop. I can't see.
Gotta do that. We'll work through that.
Carefully, I got you one.
Oh.
The kitties share. And we will figure this out for the next board meeting.
Not to worry, it's the first one together, so, we expect a
We used to
little
have a
bit of
smart-
pickup.
We used to have a smart board in here, but it's probably being used in a classroom,
It's being
right?
used in a class.
Yeah, yeah.
We had a big board in there,
Yeah,
yeah.
But then at the same time, we can't shoot it both ways, so we need to figure out a way to like get you guys to be able to see it and the audience to be able to see it at
Maybe
the
we'll
same time.
put something on that. wall
Yeah,
right
something, or shoot it kind
there.
of
Yeah,
behind
put it on
that,
Yeah,
with one of the projectors that we have on a cart. I think we
Yeah.
could probably do that.
yeah. And then these two wonderful screens out there too.
Yeah.
So, all righty, total expensive, 5.68 million. Our budget, was, about 115 over, but I'll show you how that got made up. Kind of look at where we were prior year, the same time last year, in terms of revenues, right? So remember the year prior to that, we were down with enrollment, but compared to this year, or when I say this year, speaking of the one that just finished, right? So you can see where we were here in terms of that. So obviously much lower enrollment there at the end of June of that year, but much higher this year. You can see that's almost double in terms of the amount of, LCFF revenues that we received from last year, 2 years ago, June, to where we are now. Same here, federal revenues. Most of this here is, last year was our PCSGP. This year, small amount of PCSGP, but also our NSLP, the lunch program, some amount for special ed, federal dollars are included here as well. On the state side, same there. Again, right, you can see here again, this is all reflected in the growth. And we also recognize some one-time revenues. Learning recovery, emergency block grant was one of them, which was a pretty big high one, things like that. So that's why you'll see here that almost 50% more this year than last year. And again, but the complete flip here is the local stuff, right? We had more grants and foundation driven donations or contributions. This year, not as much. That's the reason for that much lower amount there. And again, now you can sort of see the difference there in terms of the variance overall. Obviously, as I mentioned, the federal dollars were about 16% less than they were from the prior year.
So all these numbers are school year, right, based on school year?
Yes, so from
July
July
to June.
1
Yeah.
to June 30.
June, so,
And so keep in mind, as we take this snapshot and we go into this year, as we
Yeah.
go forward into next year, we'll see that next year will be higher than this year. And that's the growth that we want to see year over year. Revenues, expenditure side, right? And again, there are a couple of moving parts here in terms of, staffing and things like that. And we'll talk a little bit about that, as we go throughout the course of the year as well. You can look at the personnel expense, here, about 26% change, from last year to this year, here, 2.7 million then, about 3.5 here. Operational matters, books and supplies, curriculum, things like that. 423, we're at 505, so that's about a 20% difference there. And about a 5% difference in terms of our operational costs.
So the personnel increase of 26%, what percentage is attributed to, the number of, basically increase in staff members?
I think it was, I don't know if there was a huge or significant increase in the number of staff, more so there was increase in the salaries.
Okay.
I think, while they were the net gain, and I'd have to look at it in terms of, what was here the prior year versus last year, maybe plus or minus from two
Because
employees.
of the average increase, so the basically once the increase, right? Increase, like a salary adjustment,
Mhm.
whatever the percentage, the others, the sheer number of staff increase, right?
Yes, but there are also additional, if you will, so there, keep in mind, it's not just a base salary, but there
Yeah,
are
the
other
ba-
things. They
benefits,
have, what do you call that? They're like, stipends and or for, educational experience, things like that. Those are all built into some of that cost that you see.
As well as health and welfare benefits and STRS contributions. things like
Yes.
that.
In addition to that as well, so,
I would guess that there was probably a little bit of an increase in staff just because we had such a large increase in students
Yes,
between
there-
those 2
there
years
were.
as well.
but I think some of that, there was some attrition, right? So, some left and the net of leaving and gain, wasn't, say, 10 different new staff members. But I can check and see, because I have that number. I just don't have it here, for you guys, but I can tell you exactly that net effect. But overall, look at where we were in terms of expenditures, right? So overall, we went, it's about a 26% change, 1.1 million from the year prior to where we are now. To be expected, right? The cost of living, obviously, for this section here, plus here as well. And I think that's across the board for the entire nation in terms of just the cost of, it's okay, items going up, things like that.
Sorry, the other outgo, that was all of the selling seasons,
Look,
right?
let me back up. Cause that, I almost neglected to point this out. Thank you, Brett. Take a look at this. So June of 2022, that was the first time we borrowed. Right? So it's right in there, 39,000. But then throughout the course of this year or last year, 337,000, because again, we had to make up that cash flow difference from that $1.1 million loss at the end of June of 22, and I'll show you that on the balance sheet. But yeah, if we were able to minimize this or mitigate this some way, we'll be in a much better position in terms of cash, fund balance, things like that. This was our budget from second interim that the board approved, right? I believe I had a $119,000 net income or net gain there. We finished up at $80,870. And as I mentioned, there was some run over or excess here in some of these categories, particularly these two in the personnel area, right? Towards the end of the year, there were a couple of things that were added in here in terms of different payouts. And I'll sort of leave it there. That caused these numbers to sort of bump up a little bit, but we were under in most of the other categories, obviously here in our employee benefits, operational costs as well, we were way under there. Some of this hourly. Some staff were working above and beyond. We had them as part-time, but they're actually working full-time hours, things like that. But not too bad in terms of, you sort of subtract out some of these unforeseen, or a couple of these are end of the year expenditures that, how do I say, I didn't see them coming, right? Or I did not anticipate them to be there, right? But overall, 119, we finished with 80,000 in net income. And David, I believe you asked me, how do I know, or how will I know when I'm in the ballpark? So you can kind of see here in terms of where I said we would be and where we wound up.
So we actually spend less than budgeted on the books and some supplies.
And we can talk offline about that.
So question,
Yes.
the variance from budget, you have 191,000. So I'm trying to reconcile that between the actual and the interim.
So this is if you were to take this budget here and to say this is the entire budget for the fiscal year. It's the interim because that's when we approved it. That's just my mental check
Yeah.
to say, yeah. So if you were sort of look at this, even if this were, approved in September, June, whenever, it still would ring true the same way. We just made adjustments to it periodically. throughout the
But
year.
isn't the 191 supposed to be the difference between what was budgeted and what the actual was?
No, it's subtracting, I think, from this number here. Where are we? This variance here is taking from,
The total of the revenue and the
Yep.
difference of the expenses.
yes,
Is that right?
I think so, I believe so. I'd have to go back and check.
So it's not showing I guess I was sort of trying to figure the variance from budget. Normally I would see the difference between the interim budget and the actual.
Yeah, so the actuals here, so example, this is the budget, right? So if you were to subtract this from that, gives you that, right? This number right here, I probably need to adjust that. I'm not
That
sure
isn't
what
fixed,
that
right? Because it's really, what's the difference between 80 and 119?
That would be like
No,
40,000.
It should, yeah, it should be reversed.
40,000 right there. I think there's a calculation here. I was pointing to something. It shouldn't be. But yeah, it's about a $40,000 variance.
Variance, yeah.
From where we thought we would be. And again, most of that is just in these three categories right
So that's a positive, right?
there.
So the net income is a positive.
Yeah, the net income is a positive 80,000. Yes, if
Okay.
you subtract our 5.7 revenues from our 5.689 in expenses, gives you that 80,000. So this is a year we finally need you to say we wound up on the plus side in terms of our net income overall, which is good considering, the prior year where we were, and I'll show you that right now, because always looking back gives us a sense of where we're going.
Sorry, one more question.
Yes, sir. Go
Is
ahead.
there any meaning in the color of the 119?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
I'm just a madman when it comes to colors and
Okay.
yeah,
Wondering
it's most of it is usually for my own benefit to remind me of things. But yeah, it's usually, it doesn't mean, if it's in red or something like that,
Yeah.
then, you can kind of.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I'm trying to get, like a sense on the key numbers, the big drivers of that variance. So you have an outgoing, okay, basically the outgoing expense. What is the outgoing expense? Basically you have a short of 60-something thousand, 62. And the books, supplies, you have a short of 26. That's significant because we don't have a lot of budget on books. Why we cut the corners on the books?
well, I wouldn't say they cut corners.
Because we have a budget to spend on books, then we save that
Mm-hmm.
26,000.
No, we didn't. That's minus, there's a negative right there. You can't see it. If you get a little closer, you can see.
We
it.
actually spent more money
Yeah,
on
we already
books
spent
and
more,
supplies
yeah,
than we had
So
budgeted
that's when we did.
by
not
about
cut corners.
$26,000.
Yeah, it's a negative. Let me look.
Oh, yeah, then okay,
The one that we actually, the one above it, where you're seeing the 33,000.
Oh,
that
that's
we spent 95.
Okay.
That's
Actually,
That's employee benefit.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
then,
Saved on benefits, which is a good thing.
yeah, that's good.
Saved on benefits and services and
Yeah,
other
on the
operating
books.
costs.
Invested a little bit more here in terms of program supplies,
Got it.
books, to your point.
Yes, gotcha.
Right? And in the bigger scheme of things, we can never spend enough in this
Right,
category, right? That's,
So
in my opinion.
then, yeah. This, similarly on the outgoing expense, you spend more. What are the main drivers on the outgoing expense? What are the-
In which category?
The others
In
going down.
this one?
Going down.
Oops.
You can roll down a little bit.
Yeah. I
It's
love it.
not touch screen, that's why.
Yeah.
I love the touch screen.
Mine is a touch screen.
Oh, yeah, 62, see that, number 6, Adam 6.
Uh-huh. So this is
Six, yeah.
our borrowing,
That's
right?
our-
So this is what, yeah.
Selling
receivables.
Yeah.
And that's a
Yeah.
borrowing,
Yeah,
because
so
we
that's
spend a
borrowing
lot,
there.
on like an interest or something.
Yeah, so this is the
Interest,
gum under our shoe, so to speak, right?
This is what Delano and I meet about every Friday.
Yep, every Friday. We are plotting our escape
okay.
from Alcatraz. And I'm confident between Amy and I, we will burst out of that place sooner rather than later. Trust us on that one. Guarantee you on that one.
And then some of the, number 1 and number 2 are just, like we talked about, some of the differences in, increases in salaries, stipends, things like that, that were not anticipated at the beginning of the year.
Right. Yeah, so last year, when I recall, the board meeting, the board approved the, percentage on average, right? Overall, are we pretty much in line? With the percentage increase, or salary increase,
With
all the stuff
With,
across the
with,
board?
across the board, it's difficult to say, but I think your staff is paid pretty well. And I'll maybe reserve that answer for a little after Dr. Kerman and I can sort of get together, because we're gonna retool the budget
Right.
again. But I will say, I think your staff, in my experience, is based on other schools that I serve and my experience in the industry. You are on the higher end of the pay scale, which is not to say that's a bad thing. Because considering the district that you're in, the location of the school, things like that, it warrants at times to have, what I would consider higher than average salaries. But that's sort of minimizing the fact that teachers are underpaid, right?
Yeah, 2 points, basically, the reason I'm raising the question, because that was one of the board discussion item, right? I recall. We talked about this last year, the percentage increase, kind of, but, the year later, I want to calibrate against that. And are we pretty much on target, or we exceeded that, or we are under the threshold? Now, what is that?
Well, it's one of those where, again, for your school, right, I believe that this reflects the cost of living in Irvine, the program that you're serving to the students is one that requires a lot of specialization, right? And so that will also require you to have teachers who are, if you're more prepped or have individual skill sets that.
Yeah, I understand. I
I think
guess,
to answer your question, David, if I'm thinking of it correctly, I think that after we go through, because we have done a lot of, hiring of new staff
Right.
and some staff has shifted around, after our first month's payroll, we'll be able to then give a better estimate of where we're on track with what we had planned next year. And looking at exactly, and then we'll be able to project out, because we'll already have everyone's salaries, all the staff is in place. And so once we go through a full payroll with all
Right.
of our employees, then we can project that out over the entire school year until June and be able to give a better, a more accurate depiction and that'll allow us to do the, when we kind of revise the budget,
Right.
we'll be able to use those figures to make it a little bit more accurate and compare.
Good, yeah, thank you. So basically, we're gonna, this year, we're gonna come to the same point, right? We're gonna have to go over, what a percentage of increase, for the staff, and to make a salary adjustment across the board. So to do that, we need to kind of review, go back, take a look, because you have a 26% increase on staff. Part of that is attributed by the sheer number of increase. Okay, that's number one. Number two drivers, kind of salary adjustment. So basically 2 drivers. And number 3 is still the third one, is extraordinary items, sometimes unanticipated. Some, benefits or some other changes, right? So the basic three items, so I want to get a sense of, you break down the numbers. And we want to take a look, okay, is whatever the percentage, 5, 6%, is that reasonable?
Mhm.
This year, when we come to that point, how we compare to last year,
Mhm.
is that
Absolutely.
sufficient internally? And how we hold that salary increase, given the.
Or he's
Yeah.
keep it static.
Exactly. Yeah,
Across
across the
a
board,
number of
yeah.
years, yes, absolutely, and as we circle back to that around the first interim, because we'll really need, to Amy's point, a couple of months of sort of looking at that and making sure.
Yeah.
Right now, we're early in the game, we had not gone through a full cycle with everyone being paid. I believe everyone is just now back to school, so, but.
And we also have open enrollment that will be happening here in October. So people will be selecting new benefits for this new school year. There is going to be a slight benefits increase. There always is. This year, we're catching up from COVID. And so there's probably a more visible increase everywhere in the cost of benefits. And so we'll go through, and once everybody enrolls for their benefits, we've also changed the way that we are doing our benefits from being a flat rate of, I think it was $7,000 an employee, to now doing it based on a particular plan, that every employee is entitled to a particular plan for that person. And so without having the benefit of having that done last year, there's going to be some adjustments once we go through that open enrollment period of how much our health and welfare benefits are going to be costing us as well. So we'll be keeping an eye on that and adjusting, looking out whether we need to adjust that, or, whether that's the right way to do it.
And I suspect even with benefits, we will be coming back. This will be revisited several times, just to sort of get that appropriate balance between what, the employees are being charged versus what the employer portion of that. Because obviously we don't want that to be so skewed in one way or the other that it doesn't benefit you and it doesn't benefit the employee as well. So, usually with benefits, there is a, on average, somewhere between 3 to 5, maybe even up to 7 to 10% increase year over year, depending on the plan, depending on how benefit rich the package that's presented is, right?
And then as we continue to, move forward as an organization and stabilize a little bit, we'll be able to have better budget projections from the beginning of the year, and be able to narrow this down and make those more and more accurate year after year.
Sure. Thank you.
Last point here. So taking a look at our balance sheet in terms of where we were cash-wise last year versus this year, right? 400,000 there, relatively about the same, about a 67,000 change in terms of what was in the bank, in the treasury last year versus this year. We had 67,000 more. In the operating account, we had $3,400 less, right? Last year to this year, so not a whole lot of movement in terms of cash from one year to the next. Receivables there, as you can see that we booked 461,000, and those are revenues that we've yet to collect that we're due as of 6/30. There's really not a whole lot on your balance sheet in terms of asset wise, right? That's not always a bad thing in this case. Where the rubber does meet the road here. Break that. We're all in pre-game form here, or pre-game shape, or preseason shape. There we go. Right. Want to focus our attention right here, right? So, and again, this has been paid down because this is still looking at June, but this is where our 972 from charter schools capital was. At that same time last year, and I remember I said we had first started borrowing, we were up to 512,000, right? That's what we had borrowed. First part of May, most of June to sort of bridge us through. But this is now down to, I believe we're down to about 400,000.
It's about 400,000.
Yeah, give or take. So we've made a significant dent in our borrowing, and that's really what it's going to take to get us out of this hole, is to pay back, but don't reach out again. Right? And so we've been doing that. We've have a process in place in terms of our accounts payable and aging, paying that down. So we're sacrificing in these early months to get us through. But as you can see here, last year was extremely difficult from a cash flow perspective because we had so many obligations to meet, and we just did not have the cash at that point in time to do it. But now we're coming or digging ourselves slowly out of that hole. If you recall, this was our deficit, this is what we lost in 2022, 1,022,000, right? So in order for us to come back to that, David, you know all too well, right? To dig ourselves out of that, we're gonna have more assets up here, right? To offset this. And we're doing that, which is great. It's $80,000, but it's a lot more than, you know, what we projected in terms of our fund balance from last year. We're now at a deficit of 742,000. Last year we were there at 823. If my projections are correct and we do all the right things, we will be back to positive by the end of June of 25, right? So this will be this fiscal year. And that's what we're hoping to do, right? Is to get back to positive, which means that we're gonna have to tighten up more, right? And make sure that the budget that we present to you guys, we're living within that box, or we're living within our means with that. It's great because we have additional students, but that also comes with additional expenditures in terms of staffing and more resources, things like that. But I believe the upside of that will be that we'll be able to recognize more of that revenue that we're keeping for ourselves and not, you know, giving back to charter schools capital. While they were our friends when we needed them, that's one thing, but now I think, you know, it's time for us to stand on our own and not necessarily use them as such a lifeline or as a crutch to get through.
Question.
Yes, sir.
When will we know if we get our first apportionment in October, if that was approved or not?
We should, we should technically know probably within the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, you will know, to your point,
Usually-
Amy, middle September.
Middle September, yeah, that's usually when
Yeah.
we'll find out.
So we'll know by then. Obviously, we're now in the funding cycle for, you know, they're using last year's ADA to fund us up until we get to P1. But those revenues will be higher because our ADA is higher at the end of last year than it was in the prior year. So that's good for us in terms of at least having some more cash. And as long as we don't sell those receivables, we'll be able to
Be
keep
able to
that,
get this.
build our cash reserves.
And then numbers that we put on our PenSec to get our early apportionment are running right about where our enrollment is. So those are matching up. So we should be in pretty good shape if we can get that in October and not have to borrow anything between now and then.
And I'll touch on one more thing with October. Remember, of that net amount of the total difference between, you know, on PenSec, we're gonna get about 37% of that in October, of that number. Then another 37% of that in December, right, give or take, right? So it's enough to sort of bridge us even better. And we didn't sell that, so that's our money to keep once we get there. And then paying off one more, the last loan here is just a revolving loan that we've had. You can see we made a significant dent in that. We had 187 there. We have about another 2 years of payments on that. And it's a relatively interest-free loan. I think you see less than 3% on that. So we should be in good shape in terms of paying that off. That comes right out of our apportionment schedule. So we don't even miss that money in a sense. Let me summarize a little bit for you guys where we are, where we're going. This is our cash flow here. Right? As I mentioned here, you see where our cash flow, boy, and this is, you know, a year from now, when we look back on this, we're gonna all have a good laugh and a chuckle, but at this moment, it's, you know, we look at this, we survived an entire year with this activity. With our payroll expenses running about 250,000 per month, plus all other additional expenditures. Every month we're running right up against the end at about a month worth of cash just to meet that month's obligation. That's all we would have, month over month, right? But I'm confident in the go forward in terms of where we're going. And I know we had some promises for some additional revenues to come in. We didn't budget for that. We didn't anticipate, we're not gonna do that until we have that cash in hand. So it's not included in these final numbers here in terms of that. So that's completely a separate thing. In a minute, you will see the unaudited actuals. They are a direct reflection of these numbers here. They're the exact same numbers, just in a report format that, for compliance purposes, we must submit annually. So this was more of an in-depth look at that number. As Dr. Kerman said, well, we meet weekly, so we have a pretty good handle on things. Now that school has started, I'll give you a little bit of next steps for us, which is a budget revision, right? Sort of waiting about a week until enrollment settles, right? Usually I'll say by the end of this week, everyone should be where they should be. I think it's safe to say, right? Everyone's kids are in school, things like that. Thank God.
Leaving wants them all at his house next week.
So we'll retweak the budget. Obviously, there was some hiring and some transition, right? Even as recently as this week, I believe. So once all that settles down, we'll make sure, if not and I'm pushing for this, anything by the September meeting.
Yeah, I think we can have something by the September meeting.
Yeah, we'll have a new budget that will sort of be our guide. And then I think we'll all feel a little bit better about this year and how we've kicked that off. But summarizing last year, it wasn't our best year, but it wasn't our worst year either. I think we've seen, and Brett, you'll chuckle, and David as well, you've seen our worst. And so every year from now on, I think you're just gonna see this thing gets better and better. And I'm so confident in what the school has become. You have a great leader here. I think you guys ought to, where's Miller?
He had to catch a flight.
I was gonna say, have Miller pat you all on the back. But you made a great hire because this lady, she wows me in terms of being able to jump right in. And as you can see from the activity on your board agenda month over month, you guys certainly made the right choice. And I think she will be the person that will certainly, lead us or lead the school to that next point in terms of being a great school. Right? And I think this place is well on its way. That is my report. If there are any other questions, I'll be happy to take them. And as always, I showed you guys the check register last time, so there's really not much there. There's no change there with that. But as usual, if there are questions, feel free to email me or give me a call. Okay, and we'll do that.
Thank you. I recall you sent me a message saying I needed to sign, in terms of.
Oh, the bank documents.
Bank document. Yeah.
Let me reach back out to them because I think the last time we talked to them, they said they had everything that they needed. But before that, they said that they needed David to sign. So let me reach out to her and just make sure, because I don't want that to keep getting held up.
Okay.
And then I'll get back to you. It's at Cathay Bank, but yeah, I thought she said, and that I thought you already signed it because she's.
No, I
seemed to
didn't.
say everything was good, so I'll follow up and make sure.
All right.
And then just for the record, it will be Dr. Kernan and yourself.
Okay.
And Brent.
And Brent, okay, and.
3 signatures, huh?
Yeah, well, we need 2 signatures, but a backup, so
Yeah.
that's why we put you on as a backup.
Yes, because
Okay.
we had
Just in
3
case.
and now we're down to 1.
Yeah, so we want to make sure we have a backup just in
Okay.
case.
And Doug is still currently on.
Yeah,
Yeah, so his signature is the only one that's still valid, so we're using his until.
so we need to get those updated right
Not
away.
putting any pressure on anyone, but, all right, thank you, folks.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Making the trip.
No worries at all. Anytime.
Monday.
I strive to make it
We're gonna-
every time.
Be awesome.
But, and when I do, I want you to jump from down there,
Jump all the way
come down here, big hug and say, yes.
Yeah, I went to the airport.
Yeah, I need to go there for it.
So-
But we still have 4, so we're
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Oh,
I have to count
Gotta
every
be-
5 minutes and make sure that we're good.
I have them noted around 6:58.
I
Or,
put, around
You
7
got it?
o'clock, yeah,
Okay, good. So you won't be voting.
yeah.
Okay, Mr. Jones, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And once again, thank you for making the trip up here. Okay, next, item 9, items for action. Item A is approved 2023-2024 unaudited actuals. Code section 42100B requires each charter school shall approve in a format prescribed by the superintendent of public instruction an annual statement of all receipts and expenditures of the charter school for the preceding fiscal year. You shall file the statement with the entity that approved the charter school. Any comments? Yes, sir.
We have this completed, so once you approve it, then we will file it with, Orange County Department of Ed.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion we need here? Is there a motion?
All motion, so.
All right, thank you, Felipe. Is there a second? Thank you, Molly. Doug is not on, so nobody in teleconference. Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Okay, next item B, approve the revised declaration of need for fully qualified educators. Although our Irvine International Academy utilized various recruitment and outreach efforts, IA certifies that there were an insufficient number of certificated applicants who met the California credential requirements to teach multiple subjects in Mandarin, BCLAD, English learners, CLAD, and foundation level science. Therefore, it's necessary to employ some certificated employees that do not currently meet these requirements, but are actively working towards the required credential of authorization. Direct impact to our LCAP, goal action, goal 1, action 2. Any discussion?
So you approved, our, declaration of need, I believe, in the July board meeting. And we had to add one additional staff member to make sure that they were credentialed to teach, science. The staff member has a health science background, so a lot of science background, but doesn't have the appropriate credential. And so she needs to take one more class, so we're doing it, making sure that we're in compliance by adding her to that revised declaration of needs so that we can get an emergency permit for her, to cover this school year. And then by next school year, I guess she has one more class left to take for the science credential, and then we should be able to apply, for her to be fully credentialed.
So she has a background, a lot of knowledge, but no credential.
No credential, yes.
A degree.
Even with a degree in a particular subject area, sometimes that does not actually give you the ability to get that, credential without doing some other things. For the science credential, some of the health science classes, because health science is a different credential, some of those don't work. So she needed one more, I think geology class to be able to get that science credential. I think she's also going to be applying for the health science credential as well, because she has enough classes for that. And that way she'll be fully qualified.
So we hire this person to teach what?
This is an employee who has, already worked here. We didn't,
Oh.
this is an employee who's been here the whole time. We just are making sure that she is fully credentialed to teach what she's teaching. So we did, Ms. Serrano did a credential audit
Yeah.
and went through every single employee, matched up their credential with what they're teaching. And then, and that's where we kind of got some of these BCLADs, one teacher with a CLAD, and then this, science.
I saw that you need a science, health science teacher, I can solve it. I know probably a lot of health science.
This is
Don't be careful, because I think if I'm right, as long as there's a certified teacher in the classroom while he's there, then
Then he can help
he can
with
be
some of
involved,
that.
right?
Yeah,
So be
he
careful
can
what
be
you
involved
say,
in that.
because it could happen.
So to be clear, this was a miss. We missed this. Prior
in
years.
prior, yes.
Yes, okay. Okay. Any other points for discussion? Is there a motion?
All motion.
All right, Felipe, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Please say nay. Seeing none, it passes. Okay, item C, approve the revised board policy 1312.3 uniform complaints. This board policy has been completely revised to ensure compliance with state and federal regulations and reflect accurate compliance officers and complaint procedures. LCAP goal action, goal 2, action 7. An additional add here, thank you, Amy, for doing that, Dr. Kernan for doing that, is a request to also include on here the board policy requirement and for us to state if it's mandated or if it's highly recommended or something to that effect. So you'll notice that is new as compared to prior agendas. Okay, here it says it's mandated for all public schools, gives the California Education Code.
This policy still had some, I think it still had Dr. Watson as the compliance officer listed. And I think hadn't been revised since 2022, and there have been some, just some language updates, as well as making sure that it really did fit with the procedures that one would follow to file a uniform complaint here at IIA. So it's sort of a little bit more generic in our old policy. So we did some of those updates. We reflected the actual people that you would speak to, and then what policies that you would follow, and then updated our uniform complaint form so that it was actually tailored here to IIA. So it wasn't just the generic form, but actually had our letterhead on it and stated where it was from.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Is there a motion?
All motion.
All right,
So.
thank you, Felipe. I'll second. Happy to second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, it passes. Next, item D, approve the revised board policy 1313, civility. This new board policy outlines the expectations for civil behavior at all school activities and at school facilities. LCAP goal action, goal 2, action 7. Board policy requirement, highly recommended. Board policy.
Yes, I mean, this is really just kind of setting our expectations as a school for everyone maintaining civil behavior. We didn't really have the ability, because we didn't have a policy in the past, to provide, say, a parent who was causing a disruption, or, something like that. Now we actually would have a policy to present to them, and that kind of just outlines how we would handle any type of, big uncivil behaviors in any of our school events. So this is definitely, it's not a mandated policy, but it's definitely a highly recommended policy. Most schools have a civility policy. And so it provides us with that opportunity to make sure that we have something to back up, taking care of anybody who is causing a big disruption on campus.
So it applies to everyone.
It applies to everyone. Yep.
So, question for you. I was seeing some maybe references on our website, let's say to a civility policy or some things, even I think maybe in the handbook or something. It was only references to some things that
It
were.
was kind of reference to civil behavior, but we didn't actually have like an actual policy to back it up.
Okay,
So this is providing that policy that's approved by the board, to sort of back up the fact that we expect civil behavior
Okay.
from everyone on campus,
so
sort of codifying it.
fair to say that we want to make sure that we won't be posting any policies that the board hasn't approved.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yes, so that's, some of this, and I think, Principal Schmitter alluded to it, is a lot of these policies aren't necessarily new policies. They were just never published on the website. And some of them are mandated policies that really need to be published on the website, and for transparency, for everyone to know exactly what's going on, and to make sure that they have been reviewed and board approved. That's kind of a little bit of the impetus of having some of the things that we've been approving lately. We're not really changing what we're doing. It's more that we're documenting it and making it publicly available.
Okay, any discussion?
So you were saying apply to everyone, so including parents and.
Any
staff.
community members, staff members, it's just our expectations of how people should act on campus, and our ability to notify people if they're not following those expectations consistently.
It's sad that you have to do that.
It is, but better safe than sorry.
Okay, is there a motion?
All motions up.
All right, thank you, Molly. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Seeing none, it passes. Next item E, approve the board policy 5132 dress code. This new board policy outlines IIA's dress code policy and adheres to California Education Code and other state and federal regulations regarding student dress and uniforms. LCAP goal action, goal 2, action 7, board policy requirement. This is highly recommended.
So this is another one, because we do have a dress code policy that we've actually had in our student handbook, but wasn't made into an actual board approved policy. So we really took that policy that was already outlined in our handbook. We actually tweaked it to make it a little less strict and add the middle school pieces to it. So one area that it said in our old policy that you had to have a navy blue outerwear, and that was it. Looking at trying not to inconvenience parents so much, we added it basically that outerwear can be any of the school colors: black, white, gray, red, blue, because it's a jacket. And then again, adding in the changes to the dress code for our middle school, that middle school can wear, black, white, blue, or black, white, blue, or gray, I think. So just basically, again, like I was saying, kind of codifying it, making sure that it has been reviewed by the board and board approved. It's a policy that's been in place, but was only really in the handbook, but wasn't actually posted on the website anywhere else, and wasn't, I'm not sure. I couldn't find anywhere where it was board approved.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have are we gonna, do we have someone to enforce the dress code?
So it's actually been really good, well enforced, or well followed, from the beginning of the school year. We actually went around, Mr. Schmitter and I, on the first day of school, and found some different classes that had perfect dress code and gave them pizza, to try to encourage them to say, Mom, I gotta wear my uniform because I might get pizza today. And then, having the it's really, usually kind of a middle school issue. So having the middle school teachers go over it with the students. We've been, kind of only the first 4 days of school. So it's more now kind of educating and encouraging. And then the teachers will start, they basically, after 3 times that a student has not been following dress code, then they'll get sent up to talk to Mr. Schmitter about why, and contact their parents and make sure it's not an issue with finances or something like that, and just kind of figure out why the student's not coming in uniform, and then it will go up from there.
Detention.
No?
We're gonna, we try not to make dress code something that is super punitive. However, then if it becomes less of a dress code issue and more of a defiance issue, then we would look at, using our PBIS strategies to use possibly some progressive discipline, with the student, because if the parent's been notified, the parent has been trying to send the kid to school dressed in their uniform and they're changing or, wearing a shirt under their sweatshirt, then it becomes more of a defiance issue and a discipline issue.
Yeah, right, now we have 500 or something students, 530 or 500 going to 540 something, right? So does the school have a, like a purchasing some of the uniforms collectively and basically, and I know for older students, they may already have some of the shirts, right? For new students, it's very difficult for them to go to Target or somewhere to buy the red, shirt or long sleeve shirt or short shirt.
So we did have a lot of, the used uniforms that, especially for the younger kids, we didn't have a ton of the older kids because they switched to the new colors. But we did have quite a bit of those available. And if a family really has a need, they can reach out. Sai is our community liaison, and she's going to be working to get different resources for families who are in need, be it school supplies or backpacks, or uniforms, and kind of build up a supply of those so that if we have, and that's a new position, our community outreach position. And so part of that position is going to be making sure that we have resources for any families who need a little bit of extra help.
Any other discussion? Nope, see none. Is there a motion?
I motion, so.
All right, thank you, Felipe. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, David. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, motion passes. Moving on to the next item. Group Board Policy 6174, Education for English Learners. This new board policy outlines IIA's educational services, programs, and resources for educating English learners, including statewide assessments and reclassification procedures. LCAP goal action, goal 1, action 8, board policy requirement mandated for all public schools.
So because we are going to be, or because we did apply for federal title funding, and one of the funding sources that we did apply for is Title III English learners, it is a requirement that we do have a board policy outlining what we are doing for our English learners, and as well as how we reclassify English learners and what types of assessments that they'll be taking. So this policy really, it doesn't change anything that we're doing. It just brings us into compliance for receiving those federal Title III funds. And this is the first year we're receiving those funds, so it's not like it's something that we missed. It's more just something because we're applying for that additional funding.
Thank you. Questions, comments? Seeing none, is there a motion?
I'll motion.
Molly?
Molly beat you.
All right, thank you, Felipe. Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, motion passes. Item G, approve revisions to the IIA Employee Handbook. The IIA Employee Handbook was revised to include new language regarding vacation days and paid sick leave to ensure equity and provide personal necessity leave for employees. LCAP goal, action goal 1, action 2.
So in reviewing our policies and kind of something that we figured out at the end of this year with Delano's team, we did have in our handbook for certificated staff members that they would receive, I believe, 7 sick days and 10 vacation days. Classifying those as vacation days was to make sure that if somebody had to, take a day off, that they would be able to, not be sick, but still take a day off for other things. In looking at that, then that caused some, kind of issues with having to pay those days out at the end of the year. And most schools and districts, instead of doing vacation days for certificated, and I'm sure you know, usually we'll have a personal necessity days that are actually still sick days, but they're sick days that you don't have to declare that you're sick. And so this kind of cleans up that language and turns those days, instead of being separate vacation days, still giving employees 10 sick days, 3 of which would be used as their ability to use as personal necessity days. So it doesn't decrease the number of days off that they have. It just kind of changes the language for those to be sick days that can be used for anything. And that has an impact also on retirement rollover of sick days, whereas we were only giving people 7, so this expands that to 10. And then there was some additional language in the handbook that stated that kind of no matter when you were hired within the school year, so whether you were hired in September or whether you were hired in April, you got 4 sick days, which kind of isn't equitable, because if you were hired in September, everybody else has 10 and now you only have 4, but you only got hired a month late. Or if you're hired in April or May, you get 4, but everybody else really only has, 2 left. So it was just kind of to clean up that language in terms of equity there. When we reviewed the handbook for you guys to approve the first time, it's a long document. And so, these are always things that can be changed based on employee feedback and different things. We want to make sure that all of our policies really fit our employees and our students and our community needs. So this was just an update to make sure that we were being fair, being equitable, and that our language met, what was going to be the most beneficial for our employees, but doesn't actually cost us anything.
So just to get to, the vacation days, so what is the changes? So how many days to?
It's the same amount of
Yeah,
days.
yeah.
So it's basically changing 3 vacation days to 3 personal necessity days. It's more changing the language and making them, instead of vacation days, part of the certificated staff members' sick leave, which they can actually then use to roll over into their
How
retirement.
many days, the vacation days?
So it
Oh, yeah.
was 3 vacation days,
3, okay,
and now it's 3 personal necessity days. It's the same amount of days off.
okay. Possibly Christmas.
Yeah, so it's just kind of changing the naming and changing how they're,
Okay,
what bank they're taken out of.
I see.
But it doesn't require payout at the end of the
It
year.
doesn't require payout because they can actually roll it into their
Yeah,
retirement
yeah,
as sick time.
yeah.
What about paid 6 days?
Paid sick days are the same. They only had 7 paid sick days and then the 3 vacation. So now it's 10 paid
And
sick days, 3 of which can be used as personal necessity. So
Wow.
same total amount of days, just kind of changing the way it's organized.
Yeah.
A little confusing,
Yeah,
but as a teacher,
Yes.
you understand why that's
Yeah,
important.
actually, I was kind of surprised vacation because being a teacher, we never, our
Yeah.
vacation is summer. So it's never, so I was kind of surprised.
It was
vacation.
an odd,
Yeah.
when I saw it, and I didn't notice it at first, when I was first looking through the document, but then, when it we kind of was pointed out to us, it was very strange to have that in there for certificated staff members. So it really kind of just puts us in line with what most teachers are expecting, in terms of, their sick time and then their, STRS contribution.
Can you speak to the process at all in terms of engaging the certificated staff, let's say, or any changes to the employee handbook? Are they made aware of it? Do you discuss it with them?
So this was partially because of feedback from employees, and then once it's approved, we'll also then put it out to all staff as a revision, just to make sure that everyone knows. Any employees that affected, for this short time, this short month. Ms. Serrano actually called in and talked to them about it and let them know, and all of them were actually, happy
Okay.
that this was going to be a change.
Okay.
So, so yeah, we want to make sure that everybody is aware. But at the same time, we can't put it forward as what it is until the board approves it.
So last time, I think we approved the
Mhm.
employment.
Employee handbook. So this
handbook.
This was because of that issue that was brought up to us after it was approved.
Mm.
Some of the things you don't really know
Okay.
is an issue until
Oh, okay, I see.
until somebody brings it up.
Okay, any other discussion, questions, comments? None. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
All right, thank you, David. I'll second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Okay, item H, approve the acceptance of donation from the Larry and Helen Hoag Foundation. The Larry and Helen Hoag Foundation generously has donated $75,000 to be used for STEAM and Mandarin curriculum and programs to benefit IIA students. IIA thanks the foundation for their ongoing support of our IIA students and will ensure their donation is used to fund programs that have a positive impact on our school and students. LCAP goal action, goal 1, action 1. Budget impact, increased revenue of 75,000, which is not currently reflected in the 2024-2025 budget.
So yes, the Larry and Helen Hoag Foundation generously has said that they are going to give us $75,000, and so we're very excited. I know that this has been an ongoing partnership with the school, and so we're very excited to be able to keep that partnership going, and we want to make sure that we're using those funds to really promote our programs and help build more opportunities for our students. So we're very, very excited to have that community partnership.
I'll buy a lot of pencils.
Yeah, well, it already bought leveled learning, Singapore math, and TCI science.
Very nice. So is there a motion?
A motion to
Second.
All right, Felipe, thank you. And David, thank you for seconding. Just to be clear, I will recuse myself from this vote. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed, please say nay. None, it passes. Okay, item 10, Executive Director Report.
All right, I will keep it short. I know we have back to school night tomorrow, but I just wanted to say how excited I am for the very first 4 days of the school year. It's been great getting to go into the classrooms and see all of our students. Seeing students skipping into school in the morning, super excited to see their teachers and their classmates. I've been incredibly impressed walking around our classrooms each day, seeing our teachers jump right in on the first day of school and get going with instruction. There really hasn't, there's no downtime. They've got the kids engaged. I was in one of our Mandarin kindergarten classrooms today, and they were learning the colors. And the kids were, jumping up and down and doing a little dance, saying the different colors in Mandarin. And that's just across the board in every classroom. And I think some of you guys have had the opportunity to walk around and see what's happening in the classrooms. And it's great to see. And it makes me, super excited and invigorated for the year to come, and just to see all of the great things that we're going to be doing in our classes. One thing that I know Principal Schmitter brought up, we have had some new policies. Our annual update looked a little bit different this year, and I think Tiffany and I went through it as well and kind of talked about it. There were some things that weren't in there in previous years. I think it was also missing the attachments that were referenced in there. So it does look a little bit bigger this year. The handbook's actually smaller by 40 pages. The annual update was bigger by a couple of pages. But really the way that we get those, especially for the annual update, CDE puts out, basically an annual update template with all of the things that need to be in there. And then we add in, kind of make it tailored towards what we are actually doing at IIA, and then have some attachments, pesticide use policies, and then some other medical forms. I know that one of the things that was in there, kind of had to do with, surveys and things like that. One of the things that I just want to make sure that it's required language to be in there. But we don't currently, and wouldn't without doing a lot of research, do any types of student surveys. I know, there's some different mental health surveys that some schools use. There's the California Healthy Kids Survey. We don't actually receive the grants that make that California Healthy Kids Survey mandated. And so, if we were to go after grants that would require that, we would get a lot of community input. And then anything that we do like that, we would always, parents have the ability to opt out. And actually that's what the part of the annual update is actually saying, is that if the school is utilizing those types of surveys, that parents do have the ability to opt out. And then another part of that annual update has to do with FERPA and basic student confidentiality. And so, I just want to make sure that parents are really aware that we do take student confidentiality very, very seriously. And there have been some, I guess, changes. I think in the past, sometimes maybe we kind of posted the lists of students in the classrooms so that people could do play dates or things like that. Technically, we can't do that because it's sharing some confidential information about students. So we're just kind of tightening up some of those things. But as far as sharing any confidential information with outside agencies or anybody who isn't supposed to be privy to that information, we don't do that. We take that very seriously. I think, as part of that, there's a little bit of high school language in there that we have to share student information with recruiters, with military recruiters and college recruiters. We don't have any college-bound students, maybe, but not yet.
Yeah.
And
have
so,
one that I know.
but yeah, we have a lot of college-bound students. They're just not college-bound next year. And so that part doesn't really apply to us. So we really would not have any outside agencies that we would share that information with unless it's required, social services or law enforcement. So, so we just want to kind of clarify that. And that reason I'm also going over this is, you guys love policies. We're going to cut them down, but one of the required policies that we're going to actually be bringing forward at the next board meeting would be a policy regarding student records and those aspects of confidentiality, to make sure, again, that we're just transparent about how we use student information, how we don't use student information, all of those confidentiality pieces, to make sure that we're really protecting student information. And then I think that's everybody. Come to back to school night tomorrow. Make sure you show up and get to meet all of your teachers and find out what's happening in the classes, and coffee with the principal, and hopefully everybody, all of our new families, all of our returning families, join us for the fall festival.
Great. Thank you. Okay, item 11, directors' reports. The board of directors, any comments?
You start, I'll start.
Please.
So,
First.
Yeah, obviously you've been busy, Mary, because there's a lot of policies here. And I appreciate the time and effort. I think I speak for all the board members when I say that. Appreciate the time and effort to go through all this and review it and update it, bring it to our attention. I think it's important that we have any missing policies or anything that are are lacking, are definitely brought to our attention. There's no doubt about it. So appreciate the effort here that you've done, because I'm sure this is no little cakewalk.
They're super fun to read.
Oh, I'm sure. These are the kind of things that when you have trouble sleeping at night, you know, grab a couple of these policies and read through them. So, I'm looking forward to meeting, some of the teachers tomorrow, you know, especially ones that I didn't get to meet, earlier during the, I'm gonna call it the barbecue, but it wasn't really a barbecue, but the, earlier.
Orientation.
Orientation, yeah, there wasn't any barbecue there.
We have
Food was
food
still
trucks.
good though. Food was still good though, but it was actually. So I'm looking forward to talking to a few, especially some of the newer teachers that. So, yeah, I think I want to thank you specifically for this, this effort. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
You?
And I'm also just really thankful that, you know, you're so detailed and you know what's important. Because being a teacher, I still remembered about the privacy. And I'm glad that the parents are aware of it. Because I think between parents, sometimes I remember we got into the problem that when parents was asking, the kids had a fight. So they want to know who was that kid. And we can't tell them. And then so now the parents know the privacy, so they probably wouldn't ask that question anymore. Than it just little things like that. Sometimes it's good for the teacher to be aware of, because I remember I worked with young teachers, new teachers. They had no clue. You have to explain to them, but now you put it in the policy, so. Yeah.
And we've done some training around that as well, just to make sure it's okay to put in policies, but if you don't have the training to make sure that everybody understands it, then they really are not worth anything. So we've tried to put in a lot of training as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, well, I think that you know, you both also, already commented on a lot of what I was going to say. I'm very glad to see a lot of policies in place. You know, I haven't discussed so many policies in 2 sessions, a lot of reading.
We're just gonna get through them all, and then you won't have to look at them anymore.
I pretend I read all, everyone. But I try to read as much as I can. So as you said, you know, some of the policies, having policies is one thing. Also, you know, sometimes communicated at least the key points to staffs and parents as well, because some of the policies regarding parents, everyone. And, you know, the dress code, everything is about students and the parents as well. So, you know, I wish the school has a plan, maybe, you know, you and Principal Schmidt have a plan to communicate to the parents and the staff, especially on the key points of all the policies. You know, I don't expect that everyone will remember everything details, but just crystallize the key elements, the important elements. Hopefully everyone understand. Yeah. So also, I'm very excited to see it, you know, the schools are growing, because you can feel it, you can sense it when, you know, in the morning, you try, especially the first day, I was shocked to see so many cars. I anticipate it's gonna be busy, but I'm still, you know, shocked to see so many parents, so many cars. And you can, and you know, it's a scary thing, right? Because we are part of this whole thing. And when it happens, you still feel, oh my gosh, just so many people. You know, I understand it's going to be a challenge for you and for all the staff and for everyone else. But it's a good thing.
It is.
Yeah. And yeah, tomorrow I'll be here as well. And I also sign up for the principal coffee. And I hope it's a good coffee. All right.
So, yeah, I just want to thank you, Dr. Kernan and Principal Schmitter and the staff here for really starting out strong. I think we were all kind of wondering what day 1 was going to look like on the parking situation. But it seemed like it was flowing really well,
It's been
surprisingly
flowing
well.
surprisingly well.
And it definitely feels bigger.
Yeah.
It definitely feels bigger, but it doesn't seem like it's busting out of the seams. I haven't felt that at least. But it's wonderful. I thank you for your willingness to listen to feedback and work with and collaborate. And the same with all the staff and Principal Schmitter as well, hearing that as well. I know you're connected to the PTO and they're willing to share feedback and
Yeah.
the parents in general and the board members. So thank you for your willingness there. Hope that in the future updates as well, we hear from Tiffany so we can hear about what's going on with the Mandarin program. It's a really important part of what we represent here at the school. And just very excited to be a part of this, and thank you all, and thank you for those for being here and for supporting us. Mr. Jones, we really appreciate it. So that's all I have to say. So gratitude all around. Thank you very much. Okay, next, item 12, community input on any non-agendized items. Do we have any public comments?
Not
Non-agendized.
believe so. Let me just check my email real quick. Nope.
Okay, next item is the adjournments. Recommended the board adjourn the regular meeting of the Irvine International Academy Board of Directors on August 20th, 2024. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, David. Is there a second? Thank you, Molly. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, it passes. Meeting is adjourned at 8:15, 8:14, 8:13. Thank you.
Try.
Keep counting down.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you
thank
all.
you. That's right.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
Good night, folks. Good luck tomorrow with open house.
Thank you.